You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/gold to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/gold for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Forster, and welcome to the Multi-Story Thinking podcast on interior design. I'm an interior designer and educator. My job is to improve quality of life and productivity by helping people to create beautiful and practical spaces to live and work in. The Multi-Story Thinking podcast takes an educational slant to the interior design world. If, like me, you are curious about how things are done within the industry, want to know how people got their breaks and how they've developed their careers, and get some top tips and advice, then this is the podcast for you. So sit back, relax, as we help unravel the mysteries of interior design. Sharon Simpson is an interior and home decor designer, public speaker and photographer. She founded her design company, Romantix Design Studio, after studying at the Interior Design School in London. The business has evolved with a recent name change to Sharon Simpson Studio, which reflects her growing confidence and the wider appeal of her design service offer. She's a member of the British Institute of Interior Design and a key member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee. I spoke to Sharon in April 2023, a couple of weeks prior to her design talk on lighting at the Fritz Fryer showroom as part of Clerkenwell Design Week in London. In this episode, we discover the importance of making emotional connections through interior spaces, the impact of Sharon's background in Neuro-Linguistic programming and hypnosis therapy training and how it has helped her approach to interior design, how rebranding her business has led to more creative freedom, and why, to help you make decisions, you should choose your 5 words.
How's your home renovation coming on?
Oh, it's coming on, actually. I feel like we're breaking the back of it.
Oh, good.
Because, well, it's quite a big building. It's not a massive, in terms of rooms, a number of different rooms to deal with. And we're obviously living here and trying to balance working and earning money and all that sort of thing. But there's just so much to look at, in terms of just decorating itself, prepping and decorating, and it's not like a nice clean box. It's, as you can probably see, is sort of old fashioned.
I saw on your Instagram with all I thought one of your posts, some no straight lines for the decorator or something like that. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah. I mean, that sort of in a way allows you to not be quite as precise. So when the walls, like loads of, like about 5 different textures of render, are built up over centuries, you think, well, doesn't really matter what I add to this. It's just going to add to the patina of it all. But it's quite so. But actually, we've got floor down in the living rooms. Still decorating. I'm just trying to put some shutters in.
Oh wow! Are you doing a lot of the work yourself, or
not a lot? No, some of it though. Decorating at the weekends. But I need to focus on real stuff.
Doing up your home is real stuff because I
think so. Yeah,
it will help you with work, won't it? Because once you've got kind of space clear and feeling good,
that's the next one. We're working on the outbuildings, which is going to be my new office. So once that's done, then like it's all systems go. But thanks for joining me anyway.
Thanks for having me.
It took me a bit longer to get you booked in because of my decorating project.
Yeah.
But it's a pleasure to see you. And I was thinking about, I've sort of known about you for a couple of years because you've been on Instagram, and I don't know how the algorithms work, but you popped up on my feed, and obviously I met you last year. And I think looking at what you've been doing, I feel like there's been quite a journey for you, which culminated, I'm sort of thinking, in you changing the name of your company to Sharon Simpson Studio. And so I just wondered whether you could just fill us in on, how you started in interior design and the process that, that's got you to where you are now. And I'm sort of imagining that changing the name to Sharon Simpson Studio was quite a big decision for you to put yourself front and center of the company, rather than previously when it was named differently. But I'm just sort of be good to sort of get a feel of what your take on that is and how you've got to where you are.
Okay. How far shall we go back? When I was born in... No, not going to go that far. So I got into interior design after... so I had a really bad skin condition for a long time. And we moved. So we lived here for about 9 years. And when I had a really bad skin condition, you can imagine it was on my face, so it was very prominent. And I had bouts of depression and anxiety and not feeling very good. And then when we moved here, I realised that the way I'd always decorated, and especially in our last house, I'd always decorated from a place of sort of emotionally how I was feeling. So if I'm feeling down, I kind of realised that I put that into the house. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like the home was just sort of reflecting how I was feeling, if you like.
Yeah.
So when we got here, I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. And I had a photography business, and I had my skin, which was two things that I was kind of battling against at the same time. And then it just all became just a bit too much. And I always say it's like an elastic that got pulled and stretched, and then it just kind of snapped. And when it snapped, I stopped doing the photography that I was doing, and my skin was still bad because what I was doing, the doctors had told me many years ago that the condition was incurable, that I'd have to live with it. So it caused me a lot of anxiety over a long period of time. And then what I decided was I just decided to stop doing the business I was doing, and I decided that I'm going to pull back from trying to find a remedy. And then in that time, I thought to myself, once I'd stopped, I thought to myself, what did I want to do? The question I asked myself was, what did I want to do if I go back to before I had my kids, before I got married and everything like that? What did I want to do before all of that? If I could go back and re-study, come out of school and go to college and go to university, which I didn't do, but if I could do that all over again, what would I do? And interior design was the thing that came up. So I decided to go back to school, and I went and I trained with Iris Dunbar at the interior design school. And I did the evening class for a couple of years. And that's how I came into interior design. And once I'd kind of chosen interior design, I realized that everything else that I've done in the past, like the photography, I've got a background in coaching and counseling, all of those things, I thought, well, they all kind of come into this somehow anyway. Visual, being visual, being creative, learning to listen and understand what people want. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
I was going to say that history because you didn't take this classic route of interior design course. You've got another career and experiences. Those must have helped you in, like you say, in becoming an interior designer. And then,
I think so.
Iris and her design school, she does a great job for kind of giving people an opportunity to refocus. Like you say, you're in some sort of crisis. You're not quite sure how to do it, but the interior design school was. There's quite a lot of similar sort of stories I've heard from speaking to Iris over the years of different people coming in at different times in their lives and and getting onto interior design and finding that as a new way of building their career, so she's doing a great job there. So then you did the course, and so you've always decorated then. You must have been doing that, but
I was doing that, but not with any. So I think I was doing that. So we've moved about 5 times in our lives as a family, and it was always up to me to decorate. But I was just used to. My thinking back then was always just, how does everything look? How do I want the place to look? Not how do I want it to make me feel? And that was the difference that was the difference with moving here, recognizing that in my old house, which was a lovely, beautiful Victorian home, but I painted everything white. There wasn't really that much personality. It was a little bit bland. It was lovely. It was clean and beautiful as a home, but there was no personality in it. And then when I came here, I had that realization, and I felt like it was a bit of a discovery that I made, that that you got to put in your emotion. How do you want to feel? And I think because I've got the background in coaching and counseling, I've always been interested in transformation. I've always been interested in how people feel and get the best out of themselves. And also, I suppose, for myself as well, which is probably why I trained in those things. So even with interior design, I have a kind of thinking that design can help us change change our emotional state, if you like. That played a really big part in me discovering how I want to be an interior designer, because once you start learning interior design, you don't realize that it's very, very different to decorating, and it's very detailed, it's very involved, and it's very technical. But I like all of that side of things, but I also like that I think it can be used for some kind of personal transformation. I think that it can, if we design and decorate kind of intentionally, that's kind of the discovery that I'm making, I think, through the business that I'm doing, through the way that I'm doing it.
I think that's really important, because I was similarly thinking years ago it was all about what it looked like. And that's an easy thing to do, isn't it? Like leafing through magazines, seeing stuff and thinking, oh, that looks amazing,
I want that.
Not knowing who it's for, not knowing you can see what the function is, but that idea that a space can not only provide the practical requirements for living, but also the emotional ones, is quite powerful. And I think it's not an easy thing to get your head around. It's certainly not an easy thing to implement, because it's not just about aesthetics and trends. It's about the impact psychologically of what you're doing, which I think is fascinating. And like you say, the coaching must have really helped with that. Did that come together as a kind of like a moment of clarity, or did it evolve over a bit of time?
A little bit of both, I think, because I suppose when I started, I applied certain questions to myself. I think we'd moved here, and I didn't do anything. The house was very beige. It was left over from the last people, but so it still had their kind of flavour in here. And I didn't do anything. I just wanted to wait until I was waiting for inspiration, and I knew I didn't want to do that thing, what you just said, just leaf through some magazines and just kind of point at something and go, oh, yeah, I want that. Because I wanted to know, why did I want it? Why do I want this particular colour? How does that make me feel? Why do I want this particular piece of furniture? I mean, even things like that. And I previously I hadn't known. I just gone for, does it look nice, or is it kind of what everybody else is doing? Yeah. And I kind of want to move away from that and realise that our homes. I think that our homes do speak to us. I think we're always having like a dialogue with home. And I wanted to use doing up this place. I wanted to use it to help me change how I was feeling, because I was so thinking about my skin all the time. It was just something like Jonathan. It was every day, because it was really bad, and it was over a long period of time. Yeah. And I wanted to sort of stop thinking about it and just start thinking about myself in a more positive way. And I think that that's what's helped shape my practice and the way it's changing. So the answer to your question is both. It was kind of like it's an evolution, and it was also a bit of an aha moment, a bit of like, aha,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
and also like, oh, well, let me kind of look into this and develop it a bit more. So that's the kind of areas that I read around now. I'm reading around well-being and interiors. I'm reading around. I've got a really good book by Alain de Botton, which is about the architecture of happiness, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the route that I'm going down, is kind of to figure out. I know there's a lot of talk about well-being, but it's about how can we use our homes as part of our own personal transformation. And the coaching, when I was doing the photography, I had combined coaching and photography. So I used to run workshops in front of the camera. So it wasn't just, because most people in front of the camera, they kind of fall apart. Oh. So I wanted to teach women using my coaching skills, because I'm also a trained hypnotherapist. So I trained as a hypnotherapist. So I just using all of those things to help people feel better about themselves.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. I think that idea about your space being a key component of your happiness is something that people are starting to get their heads around. But I think in the past, it was just a commodity, wasn't it? Or a box that you ticked, or you got the latest chair from wherever, or you're using the latest color, and that approach doesn't really factor in anything to do with the person that's sitting in that space. It's the furthest thing from it, isn't it? It's totally kind of generic and not individual. Which so that's and so at what point did you set up, because your previous name, your company, Dark Romantix Design, sounds very sort of slightly, I always thought it sounded quite mysterious.
I know, it's interesting. I set that, so I pretty much set up after I graduated. So I graduated in 2020.
Yeah.
And I pretty much just set up straight away. And I came up with the name. I was actually working with someone else, and she's got quite a dark aesthetic, and I was bought a bit more romantic. And literally this is how the name came up. And it kind of fit at the time, because I painted the house dark. I kind of was really into the whole dark aesthetic, if you like.
Yeah.
I stopped working with that person, but I kept the name and I carried on. And then a friend of mine who's he's like a branding expert. At one time he asked me, he said to me, "Are you going to always be called Dark Romantix?" And I was really kind of very possessive about it. And I thought, yeah. And then I thought, yeah. And he said, "Well, are you always going to be doing dark interiors?" And I kind of thought in my head, no. And I thought, maybe there might be a bit of a problem there. And then I decided to rebrand, and I got an opportunity to work with Alexandra Lunn. She runs a branding studio. And she asked me in her questionnaire, one of the questions was, "How wedded to the name Dark Romantix are you?" And I thought, okay, so right, two branding experts are asking me about the name, then maybe I need to have a look at it and think about whether this is the correct name. And what she did, which I thought was really brilliant actually, was she did a peer survey of people who could be my clients, and I think one of the responses was, "Is it a sex shop?" And then another one was, "It sounds like an 80s, some sort of 80s band. Is it a hairdressers?" Those kind of things. So none of the questions came back, "Is it anything to do with interiors?" And I took the decision to change the name. I thought that was a really excellent time to change the name. And I did think about other names, but I thought to myself, if I look around in the interior design world, at most of the studios, the designers put themselves, like you said, front and center of their studios. So I thought, let me just be Sharon Simpson Studio. And to be honest, I feel I feel freer. I felt Dark Romantix was after a little while, it was really fun at the beginning, but after a little while, I did start to feel it was getting a little bit restrictive in the
Yeah.
sense that, everything has to be, I've got to be talking about everything that's dark or dark, 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 dark and romantic and blah, 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 blah. And not everybody wants that, not clients don't, it's a very niche market to want to work with people or to attract people that only want dark interiors. And with the
Yes.
word dark in there, that's the perception, is that I only do dark interiors, but I don't. I do color, really.
Yeah.
It was easy to change the name, but I must admit, we did have to get a divorce.
Were you quite resistant to that then, to start with, or
I
what was it
I
about being?
was.
Yeah. Was it about being told what to
I th-
do,
I
or
don't know why. I was maybe a little bit of that. Maybe I'm a
yeah,
bit stubborn. I was. I think because um, I was, yeah, possibly. I'd say rather than trying to find another suitable answer, I'd say I'm probably a bit stubborn, and maybe in the beginning as well, a little bit scared to put my own name,
yeah,
behind it because I'm brand new, and entering into a market with that is crowded. Obviously, there's lots
yeah,
of people, there's lots of very successful people, and you kind of feel a little bit, like the new kid on the block, like, oh. So, and there was to be honest, there was a little bit of a moment where I did feel that perhaps I might be hiding behind the name. And that was part of my own, oh, I don't want to say journey, but that was part of my own, because with my skin, when my skin was bad, or not that I hid myself away, but I kind of felt that I was behind a bit of a mask because
mm,
I've just got this thing going on all the time. And
yeah,
I felt probably that I presented with that first. So I think with coming with just being Sharon Simpson, using my name, it's me presenting myself and kind of pushing myself out into the world, into the
yeah,
design world a little bit more than hiding behind, something like Dark Romantics, which I still think is an amazing name, but not
yeah.
necessarily for a interior design studio.
Well, I think it just sort of it makes me think that there's a certain amount of confidence that you've got or gained to put yourself in
Mm.
front of that, and that you are seeing yourself as leading the company, rather
Mhm.
than just being part of it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good way to look at it.
yeah, I think I think people like to identify with people as well, don't they? Maybe it make it
Absolutely.
easier to connect with
Mm.
people who aren't in the dark and romantic sector. There is that, isn't there? I think there's probably enough work in the dark and romantic sector to keep you going. But actually, you're talking about wanting to be a bit more flexible, I guess, in what you can offer and
Yes.
have a bit more freedom.
Yes, exactly. And if it feels, even for myself personally, it does feel that I do feel freer. I do feel that I can, yeah, even what I'm looking at, what I'm sort of absorbing and what I'm taking in, it's not just down this one route. I like
Yeah,
I like quite a broad spectrum of design. Definitely, I still love dark interiors. I think they look stunning,
yeah,
but I also love color, and I think that using color a lot more is a route that I definitely want to go down
yeah.
and be a
So
bit more experimental.
I was thinking about what your design approach was and what your ethos is, and to what extent. I mean, you talk about color, and there's a strong sort of visual identity of what you do. What is that still there, or are you trying to shift into slightly more nuanced area, or what's your thought about which direction you're going in now?
My thought about which direction, I think I'm going in the direction of. I mean, I'm looking over there because I'm doing some work in my own house at the moment. Process that I'm taking myself kind of through my own process, if you like. And by taking myself through my own process, I'm using myself, I reckon, to kind of evolve what exactly is my offering. Where
Mm.
is the business going? What is it that I'm doing? And I had a kind of fixed idea on the colours that I was going to choose. And then I kind of realized, I thought to myself, well, I realized that they weren't doing anything for me emotionally. Where I want to take the business is I really do want to concentrate with clients on this idea of using your home to make you feel better. I can't think of any other way to say it, but using your home as part of the do you know, are you familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes. Well, the
So
pyramid.
the pyramid.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel that I listened to something this morning as well. It's like if you can get your home right, or as right as possible, then it's one less thing to think of as you ascend, if you like, as you ascend this imaginary pyramid to get towards your own personal fulfillment. And it sounds really big and really deep, but that's what I think for me design is. That's why I think it can be really important in a personal transformation of the occupant. That's where I want to go. So with me, I was talking about doing my own place. It's taken me quite a while to make some decisions because I keep checking in with, well, how's this making me feel? I mean, I do have a family. I've got a husband and children, but the decisions, fortunately, are down to me. So therefore,
Such
you're going to like it.
Yeah. Never mind the rest of them.
I just think it's... Sorry?
Never mind the rest of them. It's me that's
well,
important.
My husband's colourblind, and the kids they're not really that bothered. But
if
that's
happy, they're happy, I guess. Yeah.
If mum's happy, they're happy, and I think that it's about taking your time in, not obviously not too, but taking your time to figure out how does this make me feel? How does my home play a part in who I am, what my personality is? How do I put my personality into my home so that what it reflects back to me makes me feel good, rather than what it's reflecting back to me makes me feel like, oh, I'm not quite there. So it's almost like using home as a building block. So getting that to a place where you're satisfied and comfortable with it, and you like it and you love it, and you love to be home, you love to entertain, you love to have people around. I mean, I love being at home. I love pottering around my house and looking at my things and interacting with my stuff.
Yeah,
I love doing that, and that's what I want to for clients that I work with, to have that sense of.
How do you go about measuring or being aware of the impact of your spaces on how you feel, and how do you then translate that to clients? And I appreciate that this might be a work in progress for you. So, but I think the key is essentially to be self-aware, isn't it, about how you're feeling, which is hard enough to start with. And then how do you then apply that to other people? How do you get them to open up and tell them how you feel? Because that's quite a difficult thing to do, I think.
It is, but I have used it successfully. And the way I do it, it's really simple. It's in a questionnaire. I have, what do I call it? I call it 10 essential questions to transform your home. And those questions I've actually adapted from when I worked as a hypnotherapist, and I also studied NLP, Neuro-Linguistic programming.
Yeah.
And had a really great set of questions. And the way the questions were designed, so often clients would come in when we're working with hypnotherapy and NLP, clients would come in and they'd have an issue, but then they wouldn't really know what their issue was, or they certainly wouldn't know what they wanted. So then we'd ask them a set of questions, and the way the questions were designed, the first 6 questions are just literally asking you, what have you currently got? What's going on? How do you currently feel about that? And then the second set of questions would be, well, what do you want? So I have adapted those questions for interiors. And I will ask the client about the space that it is that they want to change. And I will also ask them, how do you currently feel? And you can get a measure, because they will say how they currently feel in that space. It makes me feel depressed. It makes me feel upset. It doesn't work. It's, there's no storage. I mean, they'll tell you about how it functions. They'll tell you about what's not working, and they'll tell you about how they feel. And then with the second set of the questions, that would be to encourage the client to move into just a space of imagination. So all you're doing is you're thinking. It's not the end product. It's not the final. It's not the completed project, but it's just, what do you want? Because one of the things I learned, which was really interesting, was often if you ask somebody what they want, they don't know what they want. They can tell you, oh, I don't want, so what kind of color do you want? Oh, well, I don't want orange. Okay, fine. So what do you want? Oh, I really don't like blue. Okay, so what do you want? So what my questions are designed to do are really designed to have them not even make those kind of decisions about color or it's about how do you want to feel in the space? How will you know that you've achieved that? And that is the question that I ask for that is, what do you see, feel, hear? What is it that's in that space that's going to help give you those feelings? And I get loads of information back, and I get a lot of information back about the how they want to feel, and then I use that information to help decide on the colours and to help decide on what the final space can look like, because it's all in how you want to feel. It's all there. I find that it's okay. I won't say it's all there, but I'll say the majority of there's a lot of information that you get back from there, and then of course at the end of the project, ask them again and whether it was successful.
So you've got some sort of system, which is great, I think, and that's built on your experience from coaching. And
yes,
so I mean, I've done quite a bit of coaching over the years, and I find those approaches of digging into how you feel really useful. It's sometimes hard.
Really
It's hard to get past the first question and then ask again and again. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But as a process, that sounds really engaging. And how do your clients? Do they feel well? You must get clients who were up for that then for a start off. Yeah. But is that a process that I imagine it might be quite fun? It might be quite emotional as well, possibly. If you're,
it's both, and it can. I mean, I think I don't think I've had any resistance, but I have had clients who've said, "Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what I wanted." I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them really involved in the whole process, rather than you're the designer, you come in and you do something. You just do something. I mean, I don't know how many people actually do that, but I want people to be really involved in the whole process of the change of their space. So one of the questions in the first section is how do I word it? Something like, what event or happening or something has caused you to want to make these changes? And I think that often that's quite revealing, because the clients that I've worked with, there's always something. It might be that they've had a breakup, or that they're reclaiming their space after their child has grown up or something. And I think that knowing that also helps with the motivation of when it gets a bit tough and when there's money, and it helps motivate people to know that you're making the change for a very significant reason, and that at the end it's going to give you something more than a beautiful home. It's going to give you something personal, something emotional.
That's why I think, so you've got that emotional framework as a kind of support for the whole process, which to help focus people on what the end goal is and why they're doing it.
Absolutely. And then I have another part of my process, which is my 5 words, which is to choose 5 words. Yeah. And within those 5 words are emotion words. I'm streamlining this as well to make it a little bit more understandable. So I get people to pick from categories. And one of the categories is to choose an emotion word. And then with the 5 words, when you've got those 5 words, that again it acts as a, if you're going out shopping, if you give the client, if their client's going to go out and buy something, just check in with your 5 words. Does this item fit into those words? And if it doesn't, then you can leave it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't go. Oh, because it's really easy. I think one of the analogies I use with design and is it's like being in a sweet shop. There's so much choice.
Yeah.
I can have this, I can have that, I can have this, I can have that. And then because there's so much choice, sometimes, there you get to that kind of paralysis, don't you, where there's so much to choose from. I just won't. I think which is why it's been said to me quite a few times. It's my husband says this actually, which is he says that he's asked me if I think that that's why maybe people choose to go with white and to choose to go with more neutral colours.
Yeah.
Just because it's because there is so much choice. Sometimes it's just easier just to narrow it down into what is the simplest.
Well, I think, and it's having confidence, isn't it? I'm just thinking, just before this, we were looking through magazines of Monica and bathrooms and stuff. It's like flipping page after page, and you've got someone else's, there's so many within even just one magazine, so many different pages of stuff. It is almost overloading, isn't it, in terms of information? And having that sort of crib sheet, I think sounds great, in terms of what do you want it to do. So we had a discussion just before we came on about what the bottle trap on a sink should be. Got two choices. I was saying, what's the sink like? So we've got a sort of more angular bottle trap and a one with a domed bottom. And what's the sink like? So the text over a picture of the sink, it's got curved edges. So I'm thinking curved edged sink, curved edged bottle trap. You've got some rules being introduced there and continuity, but to that's just one little interaction in our space, and it's causing 15 minutes worth of debate. And it's often easier to go for something that you see in a magazine. Oh yeah, I'll have that one. Just give me that, or something very uncontentious or neutral. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with neutral. I don't want to put it out there that I'm not at all. I think it can be done absolutely beautifully. I think I like the idea of being a bit bold and a bit adventurous, and of using the home like a bit of a canvas, where you can go.
Must reflect your personality to a certain extent.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I've worked with people who want to go for colour. They're a bit scared, but they want to go for colour, and they don't go for I paint my whole. When I'm painting, I paint everything. Everything gets painted.
Yeah.
And then I've worked with clients who just will bring some colour into maybe a chimney stack or into some accessories or something like that. But they want to. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of expressing some part of themselves by pulling out some ideas where they can be a bit bolder.
I think it's it takes a bit of time, doesn't it, to get that confidence. I mean, with paint, at least you can paint over it again, can't you?
That's the truth. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting area. I think the approach that you've got is going to help people make the right decisions, whether it's for colour or for neutrals or whatever. I think it's connecting with the reasoning behind it and the emotional sort of objectives, which aren't always apparent when you get to meet a client. They're talking more about the functional requirements rather than the emotional requirements that they were not really attuned to making ourselves aware of. And so just to sort of change tack, I guess, what I was also interested in was your work around with the BIID, British Institute of Interior Designers. You've been working as part of their diversity inclusivity committee. That's obviously that's something you're very passionate about. I've seen a few articles, and I think we talked about it last year a bit when we met at the some summer party. But it's quite a big area of activity amongst the design world with United in Design, BIID, and we're working with Simon Hamilton down in Plymouth. What's your role within that? And give me a bit of well, it seems a silly question to say why is it important, but why do you personally want to get involved in that?
It's a good question. So I've got to just take you back a little bit. Before I became an interior designer, I was always a consumer of magazines. So I was very much like, like a consumer. I would buy a load of magazines, I'd look through them, and I never saw anybody that looked like me. I never saw any brown people. I never saw anyone look like me ever. And my little silent protest was to stop buying those magazines. Looking back, I should have probably said something about it, but I didn't. So my little silent process was just to stop buying the magazines. I just thought I can't believe that there are no black people in design. So when I got to close to the end of my studies with Iris, she said that, you know, there was the opportunity for all the students to join the BIID as students. So I thought, well, I'll do that because that's the recognised, that's the body, the
professional body. Yeah,
that's the professional body.
One of them, isn't it? Yeah.
And then I saw an email that had come out that was about a diversity and inclusion committee, that we're setting up a new committee. Do you want to be a member? And I think we set up in 2020, and it was after this whole the tragedy of George Floyd. And at the time, I thought to myself, I want to do something that is about causing a change rather than thinking about it or, you know, kind of going, oh, you know, there's nothing in the background and not doing anything. I wanted to be part of something that was about making a change. And that's why I joined. So I joined as a student, and there were, I think, 8 of us. And we carried out, the first thing that we did was carry out a survey. So we helped write the survey questions. We kind of, anything that comes out from the BIID that is to do with diversity and inclusion, we as a collective group of members, we all put our input in. We all discuss the topics that are to be discussed. We all discuss ideas. We put ideas forward about how can we get the message out to members? How can we get members to take part in surveys and to take part in being part of the change? So what I wanted, the reason why I joined, was I wanted to just do that, to be a part of the change and to see more people that look like me. So like representation, really.
Yeah.
Within the whole interior space, you know, like if you go to like a show or a panel or on TV or in a magazine or in the public space, I want to see people that are diverse. I want to see that because we, you know, everybody kind of, no matter what background that you're from, we make up the creative spaces. And I was wondering why that wasn't seen in interior design.
I think it's across lots of sectors, isn't it? The whole of society, the lack of representation. And there's been a lot of positives in terms of, particularly, I suppose, when you see on TV, you know, a more diverse range of pundits or panelists or contestants or, you know, that's certainly changed over the years. But is there, in the interior design world, any specifics that are relatable just to the fact that it's a design world, or is it the same symptom but just a different context?
I suppose I can't speak for other. I mean, one of the first things that I learned being part of the diversity committee was, of course, I'm coming in as a Black woman, but it's across. I didn't realise that I think there's like 9 different points of diverse areas that are to be looked at, and they include pregnancy, maternity, I think gender, identification, age, and I didn't realise that because I was just looking at it through my own eyes. Yeah. So I think, just from my observation, what happened during 2020 was a lot of industries, they looked at themselves and decided that something needs to be done about the lack of representation in any of these areas. You know, it's not just one section of the population that makes all the changes, that makes all the decisions, that make, it's not just one. So why can't we see more of that? I mean, I can't speak for other industries, but I definitely think that interior design is making an effort to make some changes, which I think is really, really good and really exciting moving forward, because it is there's visible change. So something is happening.
Yeah. I think particularly with interiors, it's important to have a really diverse set of designers, isn't it? Diverse designers, because we're designing for all these diverse cultures, people, communities that are out there.
Yes.
It's not just a single solution that we need. We need lots of different approaches to reflect, the culture that's around us. So I think, and the impact of space on people, I think that's really fundamental. I don't know whether that makes it more important for interior design to be diverse than any other sector, but it certainly resonates when you think about, it's a user-centric approach, isn't it? You've got to think about who you're designing for, which is what you're developing, and really connecting with those people. So you need to, to understand it, have a diverse range of designers to be able to design for a diverse range of clients.
And also, the other thing I think is really important. A little while ago, I was in New York and I went to see this artist. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but he was a black artist. He does really amazing work with biro. And I had a conversation with him, and he said to me, it's really important. He said representation is really important, and he said it's for the children that are looking at me and realizing that they can do this. And I thought to myself, it's so true. When I left school, I didn't know that you could do. Funny enough, I was listening to an interior designer yesterday. I was watching one of his videos, and funnily enough, he was saying the same thing. Didn't know that interior design could be a career. And certainly, I think when you see somebody that looks like you, then you kind of go, oh, well, if that person over there, if they can do it, and they look like they look like me, or they're from the same background as me, or then it opens up the door of possibility that you can get into and perhaps pursue a career that you might previously have thought is not for you. So that's what I like about the diversity. That's what I like about the work, is that if more people of colour, more disabled people, the easiest way to say it is the more people that we have from a cross section of our community, of our culture, then the better it is for the ones who are looking and going, I want to do that, I want to be like that.
It's role models, isn't it? Seeing people doing maybe what you've not even thought about doing. But I think in certain cultural groups, the preferred route to a career is more down the professional line, become a doctor, become an accountant, become certainly not become a creative person, and as you say, when you see people, it's not like, oh, us creative people are not earning a living, but people are out there doing these jobs, and there's so many jobs in the built environment sector that they're not traditionally thought of as of careers to go into in certain groups, certain sectors of the community, and it's overcoming that. And I think the role modeling, the showing people doing stuff, is part of that story, isn't it, of trying to raise awareness.
Absolutely, and show that it's possible.
What sort of initiatives have you been working on with the BIID then? So
we have initially we did a survey, which is the first survey that has been carried out for in the interior design industry, and the survey was just to discover and uncover, I suppose, whether there is a problem with any of these categories, if you like, within the industry, whether people had experienced any of the isms that prevented them from advancing forward in the industry. We've also looked into, I've been part of, helping to make videos with some of our members, to put the videos out, to ask people to come forward to, it's the be the change you want to see. So if you want to see a more diverse panel at one of the interior shows, then we're asking you as a member to come forward and put your hand up and say, you know what, I'll do it. So that's been another one of our our pushes forward is to get people to come forward to volunteer themselves, so that we do see the change. And also another thing that we're working on now is we're working on doing another survey which is a follow-up to find out what's changed since the first one that we put out, which was in 2021, to find out what's changed, what else needs to change, where do we need to do more work. It's very interesting because it's interesting. I've never been on a committee before, and it's interesting that part of the work of the committee is kind of tackling some really big questions. One of our main drives, I'd say, is really getting the members to engage and getting the members to tell us what it is that they want us to do, what are the changes that you want to see, and then we can work on implementing them. I mean, with the BIID, what's quite interesting is that we're constantly reminded that it is only about 5 or 6 people that are doing all of this work. There are different committees, but to do the work and to make the changes, I think part of it is understanding that you have to be patient, but also to recognise when even a small change has been made, that is a big victory and it's something to be built upon. So I know that this year there are, I mean, of course, like Simon, we see Simon on a lot of panels, which is fantastic. I know another interior designer, another black designer, he's been on a couple of panels and things like that. If you think of as a consumer or as a potential member of the BIID, it looks like it is being more open and more welcoming to all sorts of people, to everyone from all sorts of backgrounds. And I think that's really important. I think that's really healthy. And it makes me feel proud that I'm part of something that, you know, that perhaps I may have just been that person that sat on my couch going, that's not right. But I'm actually involved in doing something about it.
You've overcome the apathy. I think that's the thing. And also I think, because we've done a lot of work down in Plymouth, it's knowing what to do. You know, you're faced with this sort of what appears to be a huge issue. It is a huge issue. So where does one start? You know, but like you say, the little wins are the things that, you know, you've got to take it one step at a time and introduce initiatives that are deliverable and hope that that's going to make a difference as it builds up, you know. So I think it's important not to be overwhelmed by it, but just to try and get stuck in. And if you're starting to talk to the membership, and you know you're building on the research of the questionnaires and the surveys, that's where you see the points of intervention, don't you? I think where things become highlighted, and you can think, well, how do we solve that little issue? And as you say, every little win is a move forward.
I remember during the George Floyd tragedy, which we kind of saw played out right in front of us, I remember seeing a banner and it said, "This is a movement, not a moment." And I think that can be a little bit of a challenge sometimes, that it might be like diversity might have been a moment, you know. So it's keeping the importance of diversity in people's minds without shoving it down their throats, but highlighting that it's still important and that it is still not just one small committee, but the community that is going to make the change by staying engaged. So it's important that we can keep members engaged with the topic, because there are other topics that sometimes that can seem not necessarily more important, but they might seem more of the moment, if you see what I mean. So I suppose, I guess what I'm trying to say in a really nice, polite way, is it's not a trend. It's something that is ongoing, that really does affect a lot of people's lives and can make a big difference in other people's lives. And we need everybody. I mean, my thoughts are always, in order to make change, it's everyone. It's even the people. It's everybody should be involved. You know, even people who might think, "Oh, well, this is not for me." It probably is in some way. Your opinion or your input is just as valuable as perhaps the input of the person whose life you're wanting to change. So it's keeping the message and keeping the change and the momentum, keeping that going. That can be a challenge, because like I said, there's only a few people trying to do, and you said yourself, which is very true, it's like the tip of the iceberg, that kind of whole iceberg infographic that you see, where there's so much more going on underneath, and there's like this little bit on the top. I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg, and there's still so much more to do.
Yeah. Well, Sharon, you're doing a great job just, being part of that. I think it's overcoming that apathy of, I'll just stop buying the magazine sort of approach, isn't it? And getting stuck in, and, keep it as a core part of how we approach things and how we do things. Is there anything else we want to chat about, or are you?
No, the last thing I would like to say is, I suppose, a bit more of a plug.
Oh yeah.
Is that I do well. So in part, as part of my business, when you were asking me about my business and how that's evolving, so I do still use photography quite a lot. I started to take photographs of flowers. So I made this. So this behind me, I made these images a little while ago, and I created a collection of cushions and artworks, and I've kind of continued that. So I make these really vibrant, colourful photographs. I take pictures of bouquets of flowers and turn them into art, and that has also been, I think it feels like a real kind of, when you were talking about, you said something earlier about putting my name in front of the business being a move of kind of confidence. I kind of feel that that's what that is with the collections that I'm developing, is that I really love making things that are beautiful and that are colourful, and it kind of plays into that whole idea of colour and using colour in your home and of being creative. So that's another part of what I do.
I think it's an important part of how you're developing the business is differentiating into different services, I guess, your products and using your skills you've got. And I'll put a link on the website, on the notes for this, but there's some lovely imagery.
Oh, thank you.
And part of a way of extending your offer, and also, like you say, you're getting a lot of creative fulfillment out of it, I imagine. Absolutely.
Yeah, I do. And it's that side of things because I didn't know, that side of things has evolved, and it's kind of taken on a bit of a life of its own, in the sense it's starting to, I'm starting to feel that, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm starting to feel that I can develop like a product side, because I can't draw. I mean, I can draw, but it takes me ages to do anything that's kind of decent. I wouldn't be able to draw a flower. It would take me forever, but I can photograph a flower. I can photograph a flower and I can make it look beautiful, and that side, it's kind of allowing creativity to be part of, to be another, like you said, like another sort of strand of what I'm offering, and I think that I'm going to take that down the textiles route, and I'd really love to get into wallpapers and things like that. So there's lots to do, and lots to get excited about, and lots of beautiful things to make, and hopefully lots of people to have my stuff in their homes.
I'd like to thank Sharon for taking the time to speak to me. It's really inspiring to hear her story of how she developed her interior design business, and also how she's used her previous experience to help create a unique approach to design that looks into the emotional impact and really makes a difference in the interaction with her clients, where she's making these really strong connections and helping clients to create spaces that really resonate with what they're trying to achieve. Sharon's used her experience of photography to diversify her business, and also taken part in design talks and the wider promotion of her business through networking and events. It's really encouraging to see that you can build a career after changing tack, and demonstrates that if you've got the confidence to make some decisions, that you can make a success of your choices. I I work for the British Institute of Interior Design's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. It's really important. I'll put some links into the show notes to help you connect with that. The user-centered approach to thinking about the emotional impact of design on individuals is something that we teach at the interior design course at the University of Plymouth. If you want to become a kick-ass interior designer, follow the links in the show notes. And it's also part of the design practice multi-story thinking, where we put the users at the center of the process. If you'd like to talk to us about a project, please get in touch. I'd like to thank Dave Clark from I Am The How for production support and invaluable advice in the setting up of this podcast. Kay Hansen for her planning support and co-hosting for these and our educational podcasts for the University of Plymouth. And Mark Frith for the music. I'd like to get your feedback, leave a comment or get in touch via the website or Instagram. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Jesus.